Welcome back to my channel, and Milo and I say welcome to week 27 of my becoming an artist journey. Today is currently Wednesday. I am running a little bit behind, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna roll the tape for what we did earlier this week, and then I will see you back here when we're caught up. Starting off with the assignments this week, I'm doing a 4-point perspective study of a person. And this looks so wonky the whole time. I definitely don't know that this was my strong suit, but essentially it's like, what would a person look like if you were on a wide angle camera and you were at like navel height or a little lower? So your head would look really small, your feet would look really small, the rest of your body would look really big. It was so hard. And then I started sketching out some cubes and some cylinders to make into sci-fi objects. I started drawing them out in this session, and then in a later session I finished them. And I don't think that these turned out particularly lovely either, so this was definitely just a rough drawing day for me. This is a art, but not the art that I normally am sharing. Combo breaker. So it is nearing the end of the year. My reading log, I almost am running out of space. So it is time that I'd like to start laying out my stuff for 2026. I just do like yearly habits, and then I do my TBR, and then I track the books that I read. I was tracking meal prepping, but hated it. I was tracking like things that gave me joy, but I hated it. I do have a brain dump in 2026. I'd likely just do a 2026 page, the habits tracker, my TBR on this page, and then an extra spread for my book log. That's where I'm kind of starting. I think today I'd like to do my TBR log. I did start laying this out. I think I'm gonna just do 2 columns. This should be able to hold as many as I had on my TBR this year, but in less space. So I'm gonna probably just do like to be read, and then I'm gonna do these here. I'm gonna do my book log, but I do think I'm only gonna have this probably be like half of the page or 2/3 of the page, because I wanna put a genre key at the bottom that I will use for this and the TBR. I want to just see what genres I've been reading the most of, and then see where I'm breaking out of the genre, and I'm hoping to do more of that in 2026. So that's my plan. I do have school today, so I'm kind of doing this just to get my hands moving and started and start my brain working, but not tire myself out before I have to go to school. So let's see what we can do this page. So this is going to be my to be read, and then at least just the start of my 2026 books. I kind of ended up with almost a Mardi Gras feeling color palette. I just found one that had purples and green, and this is where we ended up. So I'm gonna try to take this, I might change the color palette a little bit, but then I'm just gonna extend it on these two. And I think I'm gonna do that today. I will have to do my habit tracker. I'm hoping I need to figure out what habits I want to do in 2026 though, so I'm not ready to do this yet. It does look like this darker purple is bleeding a little bit, but I think with the other stuff on top of it, it'll be fine. And I'm gonna try to not use these, I think these are Ohuhu water-based markers. I'm gonna try not to use a dark color for the headers here so that they don't, or I might use liner for the headers here so that they don't interfere with each other. But I was having trouble with my Tombow dual brush pens fading, like on my habit tracker. I had to, you see how this is super inconsistent color wise, and all the headers I had to redo. So I don't think these Tombow brush pens are super light fast. I do want to keep that in mind for my habits this year because this page I leave open the most often since I write in it every day. So that is my plan. Okay, so that sets us up for book stuff in 2026. I have my little spreads. I actually started the bullet journal in 24 to try to get back into art. And now that I'm drawing more, this needs to be more functional than creative. I do think I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna want to put tabs on this, at least for the years and then maybe for the habits, because I think it'd be really nice to be able to flip from my 2025 habits to my 2026 habits and kind of go back and forth. So yeah, that's the plan. So what we did was I worked a little bit on my bullet journal spreads for next year, and I knocked off another assignment of my remaining assignments. So where I'm currently at is I'm finishing up the last 4 assignments for term 2 before I head into term 3. I'm sorry if you can hear the dog play. I have a lot of book updates and a lot of school updates. So I am starting this on Wednesday because on Monday I had to do some prep for D&D. I am trying to finish this campaign with my group so that I can do more school, and that is going well, but it does take a lot of time. Yesterday I was supposed to play D&D with my other group, but they canceled, so I did school. That is why it is now Wednesday and I've just started filming. So as far as books go, I have finished one book since we talked last. I finished The Book Thief by Markus, Zusak, I think. This I'd probably rate like 4 out of 5 stars. If this had been on my reading list when I was in school, I would have liked it a lot. It probably would have been one of the books that I remembered long term. As it stands, I would say my favorite books that I read when I was in school were 1984, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and maybe Brave New World. I thought that the narration style was really unique and fun, and the story was very good, so I liked it a lot. I now have way too many books for how much time I have. So I did get The City in Glass. This was one of my library holds. I am traveling for work for 4, maybe 5 days coming up, so having too many books is a good thing for at least the flying process. And then I have the rest of the Captive Prince series. This is a dark political fantasy series, and I am going to try to finish this. I might try to pick up at least one more book for traveling, just because I would rather have way too many books than not enough. And I am hoping that at least one of the nights there might be some downtime, but they really just try to pack the hours in when I go on these work things. So I'm likely being too ambitious, but I'm gonna, we'll see. For school, I have the 2 assignments left. So 1, I have to watch a video and do a bunch of kind of micro assignments. Then 2, I have to design a fantasy creature or monster from my imagination. I think we talked about this already. Because I am so weak in perspective, I am going to try to design a mech so that I have to build something a little bit more 3D. I'm probably going to try to build an animal mech. And this is not something I know remotely how to do. And my skill set is not where I'd like it to be to try to tackle something like this. But I did pick up a couple books from the library to draw some inspiration from and to do some studies from to prepare for this. I'm hoping between the 2 of these resources that I can at least make something passable. I am at the point where I feel like I'm cheaping out on the art assignments a little bit because I am excited about drawing otherwise, but I need to stop doing that. The other thing about school is I crunched some numbers, and if I continue at the rate that I'm at currently with the program, it's gonna take me 4 years to get through, which is too long. So my goal for the rest of this year is to finish term 2, start term 3 if I can. But I also have a lot of Christmas gifts that I wanted to make that were art related. So I need to be reasonable and understand that those are going to take up a lot of time as well. That's my goal. And then next year, I really, really want to do a good job and focus on school more, especially now that drawing is easier. It's not as mentally taxing as it was when I started. So I really want to try to invest more time into it in the new year. Tons of books. So I got this for my school assignment. I also got this for my school assignment. That's way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Exciting. Then I got the rest of this series to finish. All right. Hello. It is now Friday of week 28. We're going to jump back in time a little bit. I do have a couple book updates. So I have been traveling for work all week. That means I was at the airport for a lot of time. So I did finish the Captive Prince series. I did like it. It's a really good queer political fantasy series. And I still definitely say heed the trigger warnings, especially for the first book. But now that I've completed the series, I see that the triggery stuff in the first book that's very rough does inform a lot of the plot and does kind of carry through as something needing resolved. So it does make sense, but it's not easy. So I did end up liking that series. I also read The City in Glass while I was at the airport. This was essentially a demon plays Civ 6. I did like this. I'd probably rate it maybe 4 out of 5, and I kind of felt like it touched a lot on, one, recovering from loss and allowing yourself to love again after loss, maybe not in a romantic way. 2, learning how to love a new chapter that you're in, even if the one that you have left was good. This does mean that I have now started Don't Let the Forest In. This is a YA, I think, gothic horror, and so far so good on this. Wow, that was a jump cut. Okay, so now I am working on my friend's Christmas gift. So she and I both read this book together. I got a signed copy for her, and now I'm just filling in all of the notes that we took while we read it. And here are some more books that I got for my upcoming road trip, but more on that later. It is now Tuesday of week 29. Since we talked last, I finished Don't Let the Forest In. It felt a little bit reminiscent of Inkheart, and I loved seeing a main character who was working through their identity and their mental health struggles with what stage of life that they were in, and with this being a young adult book when you generally are kind of starting to go through those kind of transformations in your head. I would probably rate it a 3.5 out of 4. If body horror was more my thing, it probably would have leaned closer to the 4 or 4.5. And it is now the weekend, so I got a new tree poster to go with the butterfly poster I have in the guest room. I continued working on my mobile Gundam sketches, ending up drawing more people than mechs. That needs to improve, but it's been really fun to do, so I'm not complaining. I also got my scanner. I ended up getting a refurbished Epson scanner from, I think, Staples, honestly. It's older, but should work just fine. Then we hit the road and hit Buc-ee's for the first time as we headed south for the holidays. I also got this pencil set that I saw Caroline Art using, and it has colored lead, which should hopefully help me let my colored pencils last a little longer because they were taking a beating with all the sketching I was doing with them. Now this is just a Thanksgiving montage, we fried a turkey. There were lots of pies. We went hiking. I worked on homework. It was all over a good time. And then it was back to Winter Wonderland and back to schoolwork. Now I'm doing more work on those cubes and those cylinders, turning them into sci-fi props of sorts. I was kind of unimpressed with how the cubes went. I definitely could use some more practice there, but I do think that the cylinders turned out really well. And then this last one I tried to make into like a pillow to try to make a different texture than the more plasticky looking ones. And you know, it was a little bit hit and miss, but I do think that the cylinders turned out way better than the cubes and was overall happy with those. And now I am cleaning up some of the sketches for my mobile Gundam sketch session. How many times can I say sketch? These were really fun, and I'm still trying to figure out a digital workflow that ends up with a result that I'm happy with. I did end up liking the way that this guy looked. The lady, I feel, ended up kind of flat looking, but he turned out pretty good. I like the way that I did the bounce light. That's blue kind of coming from underneath, and his hair looks cool. This guy, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with him. I am gonna leave you guys here. Thank you for spending this last month with me, and I hope that you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!